You're listening to the OK Dad podcast.
Please leave your message for...
Daddy-o.
Hi, Daddy-o.
Okay, Dad podcast. Let's start this thing.
You're listening to my husband talk a lot.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I have not been in this chair for months. And it really has been months since I've sat down, turned on the mic, put the headphones on, and had a conversation with anybody with OK Dad related issues. So I've had a ton of OK Dad podcast, dad related issues all over the place, and none of them have been on the podcast. So my apologies. I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. There's a ton of stuff that's been going on. I did get a promotion at work, now there's a lot of stuff on my plate now, so it's a little bit harder to manage. It's very manageable, but as always, when you take on a new task, it's very hard to find your priorities and get your timing right. So I'm working through that. One of the biggest additions that we have to our family is our third born child. Oliver Vasquez was born on St. Patrick's Day in March. So congratulations to me and my wife for our third kid. Thankfully, he's nice. He's healthy. He's a really good baby, just like Asher was. So we have no qualms with any of that. He poops and farts a lot, just like any normal, healthy baby. So that's been a big blessing to me and my wife and our family here. The job promotion was also a very, very excited, welcoming blessing that I didn't know. I was kind of blown away by it. I've been with the company for 5 years, and I just climbed up the ranks. And so that's been really good for me and my family too. My wife has decided to take a short break right now from working. So she is a RN, and she actually decided to just say, you know what, let me just take a break right now and let me hang back at home and let me enjoy my family, which she totally 100% deserves that. She worked nonstop through the pandemic. Her hours were crazy. She never had any time off, and she was still powering through everything, going through school, taking care of me and the kids whenever we were sick, still cooking. It was just crazy for her. So I really enjoy that we have the opportunity to give her some time off to kind of relax and breathe for a moment too. So we're kind of up in the air. Should she just stay at home indefinitely and we'll see how it goes? Should she go back to work? That's something that we've been playing around with for months now, and we're just kind of hey, we'll see where it goes. Everything's been fine right now. Let's just see where it goes. There's so many things that have happened in the news, and there's so many things that have happened just in my life recently too that I've wanted to bring up and have some discussions with people. I just have not had the time. And that's one of the main things that we talk about, especially as dads and parents, is you got to make time. You got to prioritize. So by all means, whenever there's time that you have with your family, take that moment, take that time with them and enjoy it. There's a lot of times where I'm out with my family and I just forget to take a picture because I'm enjoying the moment so much. Then we look back and kind of notice I should have taken a picture. I should have embraced it a little bit more. But when you think about it, during those times, you're actually embracing it as much as you can. You're in the moment, you're living it. You're not thinking about capturing anything, which is really beautiful. My grandfather just turned 80. He turned 80, and my family wanted to put together a video for him and my grandmother and him turning 80. And I decided hey, you know what? Let me throw my hat into the ring. Maybe I can help. And we decided to actually get it together. I was sending out questions to everybody that was throwing up pictures. And I was saying, hey, let me know which pictures that you want. Send them all to me by this day. And then I'll try to put a collage together. We'll pick some of the songs that we think that he might enjoy, and we'll put it together. Lo and behold, we met that time, and of course, with my super awesome, amazing editing skills, I missed several pictures. My sister, of course, sent in some duplicates that also made it very difficult. Of course, like having everything submitted through Facebook isn't the ideal way, but everything transferred over really great. And it came out really heartfelt, touching. I think he really enjoyed it. And the funny thing is, I made it unlisted, so it's a private video. So I made the video, and then I started getting more feedback from my uncles, so my grandfather's actual sons, rather than his like nieces, nephews, and grandchildren, because it was mainly the grandchildren that came up with the idea. But I got feedback from his son, his youngest son, and when I was talking to him, he was telling me, no, I like the way you did it. I was just wondering how hard it would be to actually change the song, add a few more photos. And I told him, you know what, I'm actually adding a few more photos because I missed some of the photos that were originally sent to me. So I'm going to redo it. If you have an idea with a different song or something, send it to me. I can do that too. Because up to this point, like, I haven't heard anything from his children. So like my uncles and aunts, I haven't heard anything from them about their intake or their input. And so he started going in depth with me. Hey, I really think that's a nice song that we have, The Highwayman by Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash. It's nice, but it doesn't really define him as a character. As my father, it doesn't define him. And we decided to start talking more and more, and he started pulling up songs that my grandfather would listen to. And he started pulling up bands that my grandfather would listen to when my uncle was younger. And he would tell me that he would always play this music whenever he was outside, alone, just in his car. And it was the Texas Tornadoes. So there's one part of the song that says he's no Mexicano, or he's a Chicano, but he don't speak no Mexicano. And that was something that he really wanted to put in there. And just being Hispanic, my grandfather does speak Spanish, but he doesn't speak like fluent Spanish. Call it Spanglish, if you will. Spanish in Texas. But so he's bringing this up to me, and I really appreciate it because it's input that you're getting for your father. And we can value that. Like when you look, like this is the type of relationship you want to have with your children. Like you want to make sure they know you, they know who you are. And when something like this comes up, that they're taking that time to actually say, hey, thank you, Father, for everything you've done. I want to do something for you. This is how you remind me of, or this is what I think you remind me of yourself, if that makes any sense at all. So we added a couple of songs that kind of defined my grandfather's life in a short, 8-minute video. And that was really nice because it wasn't just something that we were throwing together and kind of rushing at the last minute either. So I told him, like, that is definitely something that I would love to do. The only difficult part right now is just got this promotion, just had a newborn baby, and I have zero time to do anything. I let him know, like, I'm going to get it done. It's just the party's Saturday. I'll probably have some time to work on it. And that was Sunday. That was Saturday. Sunday came around. I rested. Or I actually worked on it Sunday, and then talked to him Monday. And then after that, I was working the rest of the week. And so when I did have some downtime, I wanted to spend the time with my son and my wife. So I did spend some downtime with them, the little hours that I had. And after that, I did have some more downtime, but I was getting more and more requests like, hey, can we do this? Are you almost finished with it? And it was almost getting like, not a chore to do, but you ever get in one of those rhythms where it's like, man, you have so much to do, but all I want to do is just sleep and rest. So I did need a rest. So I took a rest, and I took a break. I started working on it, but I still wasn't finished. So the day before his party, my cousin was asking me how far have I gotten on it, and I'm like, I'm gonna fix it. Like, I am gonna edit it. Like, you don't have to worry. But the actual night that I was going to work on it, I got like a stomach flu or stomach virus or something, and so I just crashed out. So the next morning, I knew I was gonna work on it, And it was getting like down to the wire, so I could feel them anticipating it, and it was like, hey man, can you send me all the pictures, that way I can work on it? No, like, hey, give me about an hour or so, I'm gonna add it just like how we talked about it. But we were able to get it done. He loved it. My grandmother loved it. It was really great. It was one of those moments where you can, when you create it and you watch it and it's your family and all together in one spot in like a video of not like recent memories, but going way back 40, 50 years, looking at pictures, it kind of just hits you. It's like, we're a family, we're tight knit. We're there for one another whenever something goes wrong. Like, we're not that far away. We're a phone call away. And that's just the type of environment I want to be in too. I want to make sure my kids know that they can come to me whenever they need to. It doesn't have to be some giant extravagant party. It can just be a small get together, and that's something that I love. I love small, intimate get togethers where we just sit around a fire pit and barbecue. It's, 2, 3, 4 households together just talking amongst ourselves about anything, life, family, anything. And that's what was happening. We haven't had one of those moments in quite some time. I know with life, it just gets tremendously busy. And so taking the time to meet with my grandparents and let them know how much they're appreciated and how much, I enjoy having him around, and him being in my life was really nice. To kind of segue just off of different things that's happened, I know Oliver was born, and he was a C-section baby. So with the C-section babies, it's an operation. So they put up a giant sheet, so the husband or the partner can't see anything past the sheet, because they make an incision and then basically put all the guts and everything on the floor. Well, not on the floor, but on the table. So they put that all on the table, and then they get the baby out, and then they put everything back in, and then they sew you up, and then they make sure you're good to go. And they do that. And so it's a major surgery. And with COVID still going on, we got to the hospital, and I was anticipating everything being completely different than when Asher was born. When Asher was born, I don't think I missed a single appointment for any one of his doctor visits. With Oliver, I couldn't make any visits. I had to be completely outside, which was a little heartbreaking. So I couldn't make any of them. I wasn't there when we heard his first heartbeat. I wasn't there when they had pictures on the sonogram, which is really tough. I like being there. I like kind of the cheesy stuff. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to be with my wife during the operation. And what happened is we got checked into the hospital. We got a visitor's pass. We sat down. We couldn't even go into the delivery room section. And they came out. They took some documentation. And they didn't even acknowledge me. If I was right here and my wife was right here, they looked dead at my wife and spoke to her the entire time without even looking at me. And so as this is happening, I'm thinking, I'm not going to be able to be here for the delivery of Oliver. And she goes away, she comes back, signs some more paperwork, and then they say, okay, you're going to come with me, ma'am. And still, no eye contact to me whatsoever. And I'm there with a giant bag, like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm going to come in there or not. And she gets up and they start walking away. And then finally, and we're probably there for already 40 minutes, she turns to me and says, somebody will be right back and get you when we're ready. And then leaves. And I got nothing else. I didn't know if that meant, hey, we're going to come back and get you after your baby's born, or hey, we're going to come get you once she's prepped, or hey, we're going to come get you and then prep her. I had no idea what was going on. I knew she had to get a COVID test. And then that was how we were going to play out the rest of the thing. And maybe 40 minutes later, they come and they tell me, all right, come on in, come on back. So I go back and they say, okay, we're going to get you dressed up. So I get in gown, cap, everything. I'm ready to go. And then they tell me to sit down. And so I'm sitting down in some just corner in some hallway. Doctors and nurses are going back and forth. And then I kind of figure out, okay, my wife's got to be in the operating room. Am I going to see her when she gets out? Am I going to go in before the procedure? What's going to happen? And I'm waiting there what feels like an eternity. And I don't want to be on my phone. I just want to be in the moment. So I'm thinking. And man, time just, it moves so slow. It moved like a snail going through peanut butter on top of a turtle. And some nurses were coming and going. And then one nurse came in, super bubbly, singing to herself, jumping, like beat bopping. And she tells me, oh, hello, I'm so-and-so, the baby nurse. And I'm like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. And then she went into a different room. And then I'm sitting there waiting. And then other nurses and doctors are coming back and forth. And they're telling one another, no, before you go in, it's sanitized already. We need to make sure that you cap and gown up. And then some guy just walks through the area, the hallway. And as he walks through, he's just wearing regular clothes. He's got like a USB or a laptop with him. And I can't understand what he's doing. But I noticed that he's looking for something, probably to repair. And my mind is racing because I'm in the moment. And I'm like, this guy better not go in there because this whole area is sanitized. And my wife's about to have an operation. So then now I'm thinking, do I say something? Do I say, hey, dude, you're a little too close to that door? And then he goes into the operating room without a cap and gown. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? And like maybe 4 seconds later, he comes back out and somebody escorts him out and has him put on a cap and gown. So I'm like, okay, perfect. And it was like 4 seconds, but in my mind, it was like 10 minutes. And I'm just going back and forth. Like, this guy just walked into this operating room without a cap and gown. And so he comes back out. And so I just decided to talk to him. I was like, hey, man, you know where you're going? He's like, oh, I'm fixing a computer. They called me down here. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. Like, you're just an IT guy. Like, I hope you don't go in there again. He goes away, and I'm still waiting there, and it feels like forever. And they finally say, okay, Mr. Vasquez, you want to come back here? And so I go back there, and this time just seems different than when Oliver was born. I counted probably like 15 people as soon as that door opens, and I just like focus in on my wife. I go next to her, I sit down, I'm talking to her through the whole thing. And then almost like instantly, Oliver's here. And they get him out, and he's not crying. And I'm waiting for him to make a sound. And it felt like forever. And they did. They did get him to start crying. So he starts crying. And I think he passed all his, I don't know if it's an APGAR, but he passed all his tests. So normal, healthy baby. But he was making this grunting noise, this grumble. And we got to the room where they take care of her afterwards. We sit down. My wife's laying down. They wheel her in. They give Oliver to me. So I'm holding Oliver and I'm waiting for my wife. And like maybe 10 minutes later, like they wheel my wife in. They put her down. She's doing great. And Oliver's just grumbling like, he's just grumbling. And I'm thinking like, this is fine. Like I didn't think anything of it. And the nurses come, they're testing him, they're doing all their little pokes and prods, and he's doing fine. And then they say that grumble is not normal and it should be going away. It should be going away in the next 20, 30 minutes. The grumble never goes away. It fades in and out, but it doesn't go away. And at this point, their worry is making me kind of worry. So another nurse comes in. They're checking, they're putting their ear to him and hearing the grumble and like, oh, we'll give him some time. Maybe an hour passes total. And still the grumble's there. It's fading and then it comes back. And they're like, okay, well, it could be normal. It could be this. It could be that. Blah, blah, blah. And then like the big main nurse boss comes in, doctor. yeah, okay, it's a grumble. Okay, it's probably this, and this. And y'all checked them. And they're like, all right, yeah, we'll give it some time. And then she takes 2 steps away, takes 1 step back, and says, did y'all check his blood sugar? And at this point, if it was a movie that I've seen 1,000 times, I'd be like, ugh. But at this point, we had no idea. Everybody says, no, we haven't checked his blood sugar. So they check the blood sugar. And how you check the blood sugar on a newborn baby is you poke them in the foot. You poke them in the heel of the foot until it bleeds 1 little drop. And then you put that little strip on it. And then it tells you the blood sugar level. And it was low. And because it was so low, the hospital policy was he had to have 3 in a row passing blood sugars. So we were there for 3 days. Every single thing that could go right with Oliver was going right. He was breastfeeding right. He was pooping. He was peeing. He was reacting. He passed his hearing test, blah, blah, blah. But he could not pass 3 blood sugar tests in a row. So because of that, every 2 hours, a nurse would come in, poke him in the heel of his foot till he bled, and take his blood sugar. And oh my goodness, that was the most excruciating thing to be a part of the whole visit. Like having your newborn there is like such an amazing feeling. And then like he would get one good blood sugar test, and then the next one would be just like bad. Then he would get 1 good one. 2 hours later, he would get 1 good one again. So that's 2. So we're like 1 more. And then he would get 1 bad one. So it'd start all over again. And then 2 hours later, they poke him. And then 2 hours later, they would poke him again. And then 2 hours later, boom, failed blood sugar. And it would just start again. All the way up until maybe the last hour that we were there. We were packed up. We were ready to leave. And he had 2 good blood sugar tests in a row. And they were doing the last one in the next 2 hours. And the nurse that was there that was helping us out the most was that bubbly nurse that walked in the hallway. And she was like, oh, I can't wait, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, all right, guys, this is what's going to happen. You're going to breastfeed him, and then you're going to give him some of this bottle, and then he's going to pass his blood sugar test. Y'all are going to be fine. We're going to get out of here. And we got that last one, and he passed it, and we were so relieved. You look at his little heel when we left the hospital. It had so many holes in it just from being tested that whole time. Oh, my gosh. It was so painful to be a part of. I know he was a trooper, though, sticking it out. But we left, and we go downstairs. I get the car. I bring it up. A funny story, too. When we decided to get a car seat, we went to Target, and the coolest looking car seat there looked like a little transformer. We decided, hey, let's go ahead and get this one because it's got everything. It's a 3-in-1. And the day of the operation, I open it up, and it's the wrong car seat. We wanted the one that we can clip in and clip out, and it's the wrong car seat altogether. It's not the right one, and we can't go to Target anymore. Like the operation was in 3 hours. So when we get out of the hospital, I put Oliver in it. We take him back home. We're driving like 30 miles under the speed limit because it's a newborn baby. We're cautious. We don't know. We forgot how it is to drive with a brand new child. And we get home, and then I get Oliver out of it, and then I pack that car seat back up, and I take it back the next week. And man, we're even blessed with the neighbors. I asked in our neighborhood, like, hey, does anybody have a car seat? This is what we were looking for. We don't have one. And thank goodness, our neighbors. I had one neighbor, one side of the neighborhood, give us a car seat. And then I had another neighbor on the other side of the neighborhood give us a car seat with 2 bases. So we were able to get a car seat for my car, my wife's car, and then we have the actual base for my car, my wife's car, and then grandma's car too. So she has one. So like that was a huge blessing for us as well too. And Oliver's been home since with his mama. So many things have happened, guys. over the past few months. And the podcast too, it never feels like a chore when I'm doing it. It's something that I love. It's a hobby. And coming out here and just letting everybody know what's going on, or speaking to somebody else that I haven't talked to, new conversations with somebody else, parent related, anything related, is definitely what this podcast is about. So, hopefully once I get the rhythm here, we'll be back at it again. But the library's staying up. All the podcasts are staying up. I have no plans on monetizing any of this at all whatsoever. But this is just your okay dad signing off for Okay Dad Podcast.